Well, hi, I'm John Hart, and welcome back to Mr. America Hart. Listen, today we're talking about the perfect bodybuilding diet for the obese and the super morbidly obese and the morbidly obese, all three categories, okay? What do I mean by these three categories? Let's define them really quick, okay? And then I'm gonna get right to it. Obese. Obese, by my definitions, the ones that I deal with, the people that I deal with, and how I've used the definition over the years. The obese, 25 plus over fat pounds on any individual. That's obese. Morbidly obese, that means morbidly. We are now threatening the life of the individual by their bad eating habits, and that would be as we get up to that 50 plus pound area of being over fat. I'll give you some good examples in a moment. And then super morbidly obese, by the way, morbidly obese, their systems are definitely starting to fail. They've already experienced something like high blood pressure or diabetes. Again, all self-induced diabetes and the blood pressure. Maybe high cholesterol as well. Maybe a little irritation with that left knee getting out of the car with the one leg at that high body weight. And then we have the super morbidly obese. That would be 100 plus pounds over fat on any individual. So having defined all of those, or letting you know how I define them, this is the basis with which I work from when I am giving a diet to my clients and when I'm working with certain populations, okay? A good example is somebody who, out of high school, when they hit about 19, 20 years old, a man, let's say about 5'11", 5'10", 180 pounds, fairly lean. They can still see their abs at 180, and takes on a rather sedentary job. Their lifestyle changes. They're no longer doing athletics. And over the course of the next 10, 12 years, around 32 years old, they find themselves no longer weighing 180 pounds, but rather they find themselves at 205. I do the math on that, and I'm coming out with about 2 pounds per year in excess, surplus, calories being stored in body fat, okay? That individual is not out there doing tons of weight training, growing new muscle. That individual is the type that's out there just living their lifestyle without lifting any weights to stimulate their lean muscle mass, but they're just living their lifestyle and overeating and eating a surplus of calories. Generally coming home, plopping down on the couch, maybe cracking open a beer or 6 and finishing the day off with that. Maybe even they started a family, okay? But having said that, by 32, they find themselves around 205. There we go, 25 pounds, right? By 42, another 10 years later, we're looking at someone approaching 50 pounds over fat. So now they're approaching that morbidly obese area that I mentioned. And that 180 pound person no longer weighs 205, but rather they're weighing about 230, 235. That right there is 50, 55 pounds over fat. They're in the morbidly obese range. And in America, in our country where I live, this is quite common. 42 years old, about 235. Back in the day when they were out of high school, 19, 20 years old, they were weighing 180 and looking pretty lean, super lean as a matter of fact, with six-pack abs. They haven't seen that six-pack in about 20 years, but quite common in the early 40s with a full-blown family, too busy running the business of their family at that point. They got teenagers and, married for 20 years or so. I'm just giving you a general situation, okay? Go another 10 years down the road, and at 52, that same individual, if they have not changed their habits by then, they've already gotten a couple of bad reports. If they're the type that avoids going to their physician and having a general physical, then they have no idea, and they usually get pretty surprised when they do go in because they just feel bad, and they get a little guilted by their wife to go on in, to go and get checked, and when they do, they find out that, yeah, they're an operational diabetic. Their sugars are out of control, their blood pressure is sky high. The doctor gives them a really bad report, and they have to get their life together. And hopefully they do at that point, because you're talking about someone who's upwards of 75 to 100 pounds over fat. That's getting to that super morbidly obese stage if they have not changed their habits. Okay? So these situations, they call for dramatic measures when they get to be not just morbidly obese. Morbidly obese, when someone's 25 pounds over fat, I can work with that pretty easily. And they don't have to suffer too much with regards to the types of foods that we can give them. Meaning, I can give them a good, this is just what I do with my clients, just so you know, a good Mediterranean-based diet or a good omnivore approach to eating. Okay, I'm an omnivore. I have leanings towards Mediterranean type diet and eating in that style. So yes, protein foods, yes. Fats, yes. Healthy fats, yes. Olive oils, yes. Fish oils, yes. Some vegetables, of course, along the way. Small seasonal fruits, yes. Do I eat figs? Yes. Occasionally dates, yes. Things like that. Occasionally apples even, yes. But do I go off the rails on grains? No, not at all. I don't go off the rails on that. So keeping it somewhat under control with some healthy fats involved there. Good protein-rich diet. But that's how I treat also my clients who have been in that obese range, just 25 to 50 pounds over fat, without bad health reports from a bad physical. Okay, so if they don't have any systems malfunctioning at that point, I'm good giving them a omnivore type approach with leanings towards a Mediterranean style diet. Okay, that's me. But now that we go past that stage, anything from 50 plus pounds over fat, we are calling them morbidly obese and super morbidly obese. How do we handle that? Well, in my world, when someone's coming to me and hiring me as their trainer and asking me how to fix this situation, what am I going to do? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give them the best bodybuilding diet known to mankind over the last 100 years that does get all these markers in line and does bring a rather rapid fat burning process into gear. And which one is that? It's going to end up being mainly a carnivore style of eating. Higher protein, moderate fats, and as low as we can go with the carbohydrates. I combine that with some very good weight training. What kind of weight training? Well, I'm not going to overtrain them, and especially because, and here's a really good reason why I would not give somebody a standard, conventional, higher volume type training approach where they work out almost every day. 3 to 5 workouts a week, 3 to 5 sets per exercise, 3 to 5 exercises per body part. I don't do that with them. Why is that? Well, the main reason is that their angles are all off. Their body, their arms hang out to the side. They have like a pillow of fat under their armpit. Their hips are all off. Their feet are angled out when they walk like this. And it throws everything off. So until their body and their frame comes back into line, I'm going to want to give them the least amount of exercise necessary to bring some sort of a stimulation to their lean body mass and to retrain their muscle cells to start reaching out and accepting what insulin is bringing them. That would be blood sugar. Okay, so we want to reverse insulin resistance in their bodies. How do we do that? By stimulating their lean muscle mass. Hard with HIT, high intensity training, yes. If you want to know more about how I do high intensity training and how I do the exercises, as well as the basic diets that I've used, more of that omnivore type, and you're not super morbidly obese, then you can go ahead and check out my courses. I have new courses out in 2024, and you can get them down below in the video description. I'll put the link down below for you, and get on over to hitwithmramericaheart.com and get yourself a course. It's out there, new release, and you can go ahead and get it at a nice discount as it is right now. All right, enough of the commercial from me and my course. Now, getting back to it. I use high intensity training on everybody, on the super morbidly obese as well. They aren't able to generate a lot of intensity because they're so out of shape. So I baby them along. I gently move them along. I nudge them along. I keep track of their strength levels right from the beginning. We do whatever exercises we can do on them that are safe, effective, not going to be messing with their joints or throwing things out like their lower back. If I have to use machines only, I'll use machines only. If I have to find exercises that just fit them specifically because of their structure, that's what I'll do. But combining that with some gentle walking, gentle meaning I can't overprescribe that either, because their walking is generally so off. When I point my hands out like this is how their feet. Now you'll notice this when you see someone who's super morbidly obese, their toes point out to the side when they walk. And that throws off their hips, it throws off their lower back. So I generally don't want to give them too much to do, even in walking, because their mechanics are so off. So we have to really rely on that diet. So the diet does need to be a little bit severe. I have to go down that road. Severe is going to be that carnivore approach, in some cases maybe a little bit, getting on the edge of a keto with some higher fats, okay? So how much do I give them? This is really important. I know some of y'all are going to ask. In general, I calculate in my head about where our goal is. So if I have an individual who's weighing 320 pounds and our goal is to get them down to 180 pounds, then I'm going to go ahead and calculate right out the gate that we are looking at about 140 pounds off, but the goal is 180 lean pounds. So I'm going to give them about 180 grams of protein, high quality protein. And I'll spread that out over the course of 3 or 4 feedings a day. So at that amount, I give them 4 feedings. So 4 times 40, about 40 grams of protein per meal. And that would bring them up to about 160, about 45 grams, 160, 180 grams of protein per day, right there. The rest of what they're getting is going to be healthy fats in the form of olive oil, fish oil, some grass-fed butter, things like that. Occasionally some nuts, but not much. And then the rest is just going to come in the form of a small dinner salad mixed in with their food, and some high fiber, like a psyllium husk fiber. I'll give them a supplement like that to keep them regular, right? We want to keep the system cleaning out regularly. So that's what I've done with my clients. I'm not prescribing that for any individual watching this without your doctor's supervision. That's very important. But that's what I've done with great success. I've brought those people who are in distress. Their systems were in distress. They had bad health reports. They had gone in for a physical and found out how bad it really was. And then perhaps the doctor even put them on a medication to save their life and to prevent an incident from happening. If that's the case, I don't tell them to get off the medication. I tell them to use their wisdom. And at some point in time, as we get them in better and better shape, they still have to go in for another physical. They still have to keep track of their blood pressure. They still have to keep track of their sugars and see where is everything going. And if everything starts tanking out, blood pressure and blood sugar going too low, then they do need to get to their doctor and find out should they adjust their medications. So these are things that have to be addressed along the way. But what do I like so much about that carnivore plan? And I do mean meat. I do mean meat. I do give red meat. I give all forms of red meat, from beef, bison. I give chicken with the skin on it. I give turkey with the skin on it. I give ground turkey, even the higher fat versions of ground turkey. I give whole eggs in there as well. And then if they like fish, then yeah, we go with a fatty salmon with the skin. And it's healthy for them, a wild-caught salmon, Pacific, Alaskan, wild-caught, any one of those salmon, just not Atlantic salmon. I don't have them do that. We want to keep their omega-3s as high as possible. So doing that, and grass-fed meats especially, that's the other thing I want to mention. So doing that, their markers come into order rather quickly, okay? Week by week, month by month. I'll have them go for another physical every 6 to 8 weeks just to see how everything is improving, and surely it does. And then once the markers have all come into alignment and we get very close to our goal, I start shifting them more towards eating more carbohydrates a little bit. I'll start to give them something more sustainable long term, and with leanings towards a Mediterranean type diet. You know, a little bit of an omnivore with Mediterranean leanings. There we go. It's the best way to say it. And by doing that, it's more sustainable and their metabolism is generally fired up, and there's no risk of them going back to what they were because they're doing hardcore weight training at that point along with their cardio. I've upped their cardio activity at that point. Their weight training is very intense. And I'll admit, I never really get them up to a high volume approach of training. They're just doing high intensity training, you know, 2 or 3 times a week at that point. So that's pretty much it. The number one bodybuilding diet, you know, for the obese, the super morbidly obese, and the morbidly obese. Carnivore type eating. You know, the 1970s type bodybuilding diet. It was the best. It'll bring them into better health fast. That's what I've noticed. This is my experience empirically in the gym and working with my clients. So I hope this helps y'all just to gain an understanding of where I've been and what I've done with my clients. That's it. And before you go though, off to my left, you can see a disc pop up. That's the subscribe button for my channel. Please give that thing a tap and let YouTube know you like my videos. Down below and off to your left, you're going to see a thumbs up button. Please give that thing a tap, and that lights up the algorithm in YouTube land. It lets them know, hey, John's videos are pretty cool. I want you guys to promote them a little bit more, you know, for the channel, for the algorithm. Let's go. Hit that thing. I appreciate it. Thank you so much from my heart to you, and I will see you soon.